Hey guys, Trevor with Shadow Systems. It's Technical Tuesday. Today we're going to talk about lubrication points after you clean your Shadow Systems pistol. This is something that comes up a little bit. I'm just going to go through it very quickly. Just a side note, something to think about. The lubrication process that I'll show is a little heavier on the lubricant, and I think that's generally better for these guns. I think most guns will run a little better. When they're wet, people will say, well, lubrication attracts dirt and sand and stuff. And while that maybe is true, I also just think the guns that are a little bit wet run better. Okay. Your specific circumstances may differ. If you're, in a very sandy environment or whatever, you might choose not to put as much on the gun. I'm just going to show you a place to start. Okay. This gun is clean, but it's totally dry. All right. So I'm going to now walk through it. If you want to come on in, we'll show you all the details. Okay. So we do our standard field strip. And we're going to look at the points that are sort of high wear areas that really matter. First, a comment. So you'll notice sometimes on a brand new gun, there's kind of this copper colored material, maybe sort of hard to see, but sort of this copper colored material in a few locations in the back here next to the connector. Okay, that is a product that we apply at the factory that kind of helps the gun wear in when it's new. And it is actually, if you want to replicate it or use it, it is a Loctite product called LB8008. LB as in Lima Bravo 8008. It is actually a low temperature anti-seize compound. You will see other manufacturers use it as well. And again, that is the lubricant we apply at the factory in that location. There's no reason to wipe it off. Okay, just leave it there. It'll probably go away over time. But that's what that is in case you're wondering. It's kind of a copper color. Okay, so let's go through this. The lubricant that I'm going to use is our Lucas Oil product that we put in with the guns. It's a good lube. There are many others. Don't think you have to be, I've never seen a gun lube that didn't basically work. 10W30 motor oil works great. All right, so just kind of anything, it should be fine. All right, we'll start with a slide. That's got the most lubrication points. And if you hit these spots, it's going to get distributed all throughout the gun to where you want it to go. All right, so we'll start from the back to the front. So this surface here is where the connector is dragging when it moves through the cycle of operations. So it's a good idea to put a little drop in that low spot there next to this feature. Okay. You can put a little bit on the stripper rail. I'll just usually put a little kind of a light film of it there. It just drags across the top of the round. It's not critical, but I'll usually do that. We like to put a drop on the firing pin safety. It'll kind of get distributed. It'll go onto the trigger bar. It'll stay on the safety. It might go down into the slide, which would be good. And then up here is kind of the main lockup point. So I'm going to put a drop right there, on this surface and kind of spread it around. So that's where the barrel locks up when it's coming into battery. So we want to make sure that it's nice and lubricated there. Last spot would just be a drop on each slide rail right here at the back. Reason being, when the gun gets reassembled, that lubricant that you just put right there will get spread all over the rails on the gun, and then it'll cover the whole surface. So that's an easy way to get it distributed throughout the gun. Okay, slide is done. Now we're going to do the barrel. All right. At a minimum, you want to drop right there. We talked about that surface before. That's a lockup surface. I also like to put a little bit on the surface of the barrel. Okay, I just do. I don't think it hurts anything. I think it kind of helps. All right, so I'll spread a drop over the surface of the barrel like that. Okay, but those are the two main locations that we want to do before we put the barrel in the slide. All right, now we'll drop the barrel in. Lastly, we have the guide rod. Guide rod. Usually the lubricant that you put there will kind of stay there. It'll sort of just get spread out and it'll stay lubricated. I'll put a drop on it and it'll help kind of get distributed as the gun fires. All right, so we can reassemble that. All right, now for the frame, most of the spots that need lubrication you've actually already hit, and it'll get distributed onto the frame when you reassemble the gun. The only exception might be it's a good idea to put a little drop on the locking block because that's a high wear contact point. And then if the gun is new, you'll have plenty of that anti-seize at the trigger bar connector interface. If it's a gun that you've stripped many times and worked on or whatever, it's not a bad idea to put a little drop right there. Okay, so I'm just putting a drop right at that contact point between the connector and the trigger bar. But that's all that's really required, locking block and maybe the connector area. Okay, after that we can reassemble and rack it a few times. And usually when you do that, you'll end up with kind of a lot of oil on the surface of the barrel. I usually like to just sort of wipe the gun off. You'll leave a little film of oil on it, which helps prevent rust, and it'll kind of get distributed around. And now your gun is lubricated. Okay, I hope that was helpful. You know, as far as cleaning goes, prioritize your magazines. Magazines that are clean tend to run the best. After that, you know, it's about getting your extractor area clean and the breech face, and then maybe your barrel. But you know, those are the main things. These guns don't have to be kept spotless by any stretch, but they do, like I said, run a little better with some lubricant in those key areas. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that was helpful, and we will see you next time.